You're watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. In today's show, some Julio Jones free agency destinations was filmed live on Rumble only as part of NFL Daily After Hours. We're taking a look at where Julio Jones could end up signing after he was cut following a really disappointing 2021 season with the Tennessee Titans. And my fear, as great as Julio Jones once was in the NFL, is that age and injuries might have finally caught up to him, that all those soft tissue, lower body injuries have really added up, and Julio simply isn't the same player that he was in his prime. And even though he's not the same guy he was in his prime, he can still help a team, I think. Now, this level of production for Julio is not remotely what we've come to expect from him. Because remember, in his prime, Julio was arguably, if not the outright best player at his position. Now, we do know this about the NFL as well, that this is a league that craves wide receiver talent, and Julio Jones is still a big name. The real red flag, it's not just one down year like it was in 2020. It's back-to-back years now. And yeah, Tannehill's not an elite QB, but Julio should be able to go for more yards. The past 2 years, combine those for Julio, it's pretty much his worst singular season in his NFL career. That is a massive red flag. My concern is that at age 33 years old, Julio Jones, he might be washed. He might be cooked. Now, am I willing to gamble on me being wrong for $1 million on a one-year deal? Hell yeah, that's super cheap. Am I assuming I'm going to get prime Julio? No, I'm not sure I am. So before we break down my top 6 destinations for Julio Jones, a question for you, the audience. How many more years can Julio play at a starting caliber level? Is it 0? You can type in that. Is it 1, 2, 3? Is he going to go Tom Brady and play for another 10 years? Probably not. I want to hear from you guys, so let me know how many more years you think Julio can play at a starting level. My first Julio destination, number 6 overall, how about the Atlanta Falcons? That's right, a return for Julio. This receiving room is better than what it was pre-draft. Still not great. Drake London can be a long-term one. Bryan Edwards is not done anything. Olamide Zaccheaus is fine as your slot. Auden Tate's a big body. But from a pure impact perspective, the Falcons have some of the biggest need at wide receiver. The real question here is the Julio Jones and Falcons relationship okay? Remember, Julio basically forced his way out of Atlanta. That's not ideal. So how do things currently sit for those two sides? If it's good, awesome. Maybe a reunion does make sense. If there's still some bad blood, maybe that relationship is not fixed until Julio goes into their ring of honor. So who will end up signing Julio Jones? My top 5 coming up momentarily. This question will be the pinned comments on today's video. So if the ad break comes, if you're watching on YouTube by chance, take advantage of it. Head down there and predict where Julio Jones end up signing. Number 5, the Dallas Cowboys, because of course Julio will link himself to the Cowboys because every big-name free agent does it to get more interest and money. It does make more sense than what it made a year ago because the Cowboys lose Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, and Michael Gallup is probably not going to be ready to play until later on in the season. CeeDee Lamb is their new wide receiver 1, but a veteran stopgap who is better than James Washington could certainly be utilized by the organization. And oh, by the way, there was also this photo that happened last year. Julio training, I believe with Derrick Henry actually, in the Dallas area, ironically enough how that turned out, rocking Dallas Cowboys gear. You can always count on that somehow happening around the Cowboys. But in the end, I would not anticipate Julio Jones ending up with the Dallas Cowboys. I think he'll look in a different direction instead. If you have not already subscribed to us on YouTube or followed us on Rumble, take advantage of it. go hit the follow button or sub button on whatever platform you guys are watching. We post NFL videos on both, and we do NFL Daily After Hours, like this one right now for Julio Jones, exclusively on Rumble. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Always linking Julio and the Niners. It's happened for years now because of the Kyle Shanahan connection. I think it makes less sense, though, post-draft. Now, if Debo gets traded, different conversation. Brandon Ayuk is going to be a nice piece for them, I believe. I love the Danny Gray pickup. I like Malik Turner. Ray McLeod has special teams options. Juwan Jennings is fine for that offense as a number 3, but if the Niners want to get aggressive and get a cheap Julio Jones, I don't think they've ever had a better chance than what they have right now. So I like the idea of Julio in San Francisco. I just wonder if that's going to be the path they end up pursuing. Time for the top 3, and I think these top 3 teams really do make the most sense for Julio Jones. That begins with the Green Bay Packers. And I know, they've added receivers, blah, 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 over the years. They added some notable guys, Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson, whatever. We can look at this depth chart and go, that's bad. Randall Cobb, he's cooked. Allen Lazard cannot be a number 1 option. Christian Watson is unproven, has great upside. He's not ready, I don't believe, in year 1. Sammy Watkins has one good game every 15 games and then does nothing else the rest of the way. He's not even guaranteed a roster spot. So if I were Green Bay, if I were Aaron Rodgers, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, this makes sense. Let's bring in Julio Jones. If it works, awesome. Then we got Julio and Aaron Rodgers. Oh, my goodness. If it doesn't work, that's okay. We didn't spend that much money on him, and we roll with the young guys instead. So I want you to be honest with me. Do you want your favorite team to go sign Julio Jones? Y for yes or N for no? The Colts, number 2 on my list, and this one is pretty easy. It's because of the Matt Ryan connection, right? And the Colts receiving core is not perfect. Now, I like Alec Pierce long-term. I'm a big Michael Pittman fan. I still think another outside option could be utilized. I think Ashton Dolan is more of he's a backup receiver. I don't care for Des Patman, Michael Strawn either. Hopefully Paris Campbell takes a step forward, is actually healthy for once. But you could play Pittman in the slot too if you really needed to. And I think the idea of running it back with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones for Indy in particular actually does make sense. The chemistry we know is there. We know those two players work well together, even if they don't always, for whatever weird reason, connect the way we thought they should in the red zone in most years. But I think a reunion there actually does make quite a bit of sense. So what team, from a need perspective, do you think really desperately has to get Julio Jones the most? If anyone, you can type in none. That's just fine. But what team do you think needs Julio the most? So the Falcons were 6, Cowboys 5, Niners 4, Packers 3, Colts 2, and at number 1, the Baltimore Ravens. And I look at what this team has right now at wide receiver, and I go, that's not great. I like Rashad Bateman. I am excited for him this year. Devin Duvernay. Okay, he could be my 3 maybe. James Prochet, Tylan Wallace, Benjamin Victor, and a bunch of undrafted free agents that nobody has ever signed means they need help. So the Ravens, if Duvernay and Prochet are your slot guys, Bateman and Julio on the outside. This team, even though they're going to run a bunch of multiple tight end sets, and even though they like to run the football, they need another wide receiver option. They allegedly had interest in Jarvis Landry. They did not get him. Now, they would be able to acquire Julio Jones for a pretty cheap contract, maybe similar to the Jarvis Landry one, a 1-year, $3 million deal. For where this team is at, as a clear and obvious contender, it does make sense for the Ravens. So I think Baltimore is a perfect fit to gamble and see if Julio Jones has anything left in the tank.